Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of ABC, the AI Builders Club, where we bring light on how to build with AI. I'm Pedro, your host. With me is Quintas, and today we're talking to someone whose story doesn't follow the usual script. He started as a computational neuroscience researcher at McGill, using ML to study consciousness and pain in the brain. Then, through hackathons, of all things, he went from researcher to CTO of a SaaS company in 3 years. And today, he runs his own AI consulting practice called Datadom and teaches machine learning publicly to thousands of people every week through his YouTube channel, Deep Learning with Yacine. Yacine, great to have you here.
Yeah, good to be here.
Yeah, so walk me through
Thank
that
you.
transition. What did the brain research actually teach you that ended up being useful in building software products?
That's a great question. Um, I think before that, like if you rewind back a bit, I don't know a whole bunch of other stuff. Prior to going to neuroscience, consciousness research. Like before that, I was doing studying like memory in aplesia. So like the sea slug. So I was like studying memory at the molecular level. I've done a few projects in a psychiatric lab, studying like memory with schizophrenic. And then I did a whole bunch of stuff with emotion understanding, right, from the physiological signal. Yeah, so that like the thing that actually drive me is really learning at the more meta level, right, more than anything else. So like it makes sense that like it kind of drove me toward neuroscience and then like ultimately AI, because AI is like formalized like learning and stuff. So this is really like the conducting I would say like thread in this whole thing, right? So when I was studying consciousness, well, first it was really great because I got to learn to play with a lot of complicated stuff and work on like very complex problem, right? So that was really cool. And I just loved research because it was like, I don't know, like learning at the purest form, if you think about it, right? Because like you don't have, like there's no one to help you out, right? Like you have to figure it out yourself in some shape form. Um, so like that's kind of what got me going there. But after a while, like yeah, sorry, you're. I think it's you
Yeah, I
that
think you're
is doing
having
the
some
static,
static
Pedro.
there.
There's massive static on your feed, Pedro.
Oh, yeah? Oh, sorry.
Okay, that's perfect. That's good. Okay. I was hearing the feedback more and more. I was going
Yeah, me
insane.
too. I was trying to text him. Sorry about that.
So yeah, what I was saying is that like, um, yeah, research is like learning at the purest form because there's really no one that can help you that much, right? Like after a while, when you kind of go through a problem, um, like there's many ways you can go about it, and then it may be also a dead end. Maybe like there's maybe like no way of solving it, and maybe even if you solve it, it's useless, right? So there's all of this that is there, and also maybe even if you go into a direction, there are other stuff that is interesting on the side that is even more valuable, right? So there's all of these things that are popping up, and then while you're working on this, you become kind of the expert on this like very fine thing, right? So this drove me toward research a lot, and I just was doing like all the project right that I could do. So that was great. But then like at some point, it's kind of a long story, but like I ended up like doing entrepreneurship a bit. I was doing it for more for like just the fun of it, of like building stuff. But then I realized that like entrepreneurship and research is kind of the same, like a meta learning framework, right? Because like you have kind of a goal, a problem that to solve, and then like you just need to go at it. And there's many ways you could do it, right? Like everything is goes. There's maybe ways that are dead end. Maybe like the thing that you're trying to optimize is not the thing, and then you should do something else. Um, but like the one thing that I realized with entrepreneurship versus the pure research is that um, you're actually helping people like right now, right? Like with research, usually it's like later on, like you may be useful or maybe not, right? Especially like in my field, because I was dealing with like people with like a very severe like trauma, and usually most of them just die. But I got the data from that, and then I was trying to kind of find ways of detecting if they were conscious or not. But it got a bit bleak. Like at some point, I realized like half of them were dead already, right? And I just had like their brain data, their last thought in my hard drive. But like with entrepreneurship, what was cool is that like the people were there, and you can't just wait for 3-4 years before you do. You have to do something now, and like if you think about something creative to do something now better, faster, it usually goes right. So I really like that that environment. So I kind of
Was that also
like,
why you
felt,
moved it towards the Datadom
yeah,
to
that's
also
exactly it,
grasp
right?
that impact that you can have immediately on people's life and businesses?
Yeah, it's exactly it, right? Like in the research academic research side, you have like all these different constraints like that you have to like worry about, right? And then like Axia was a VC backed company, so you also have a bunch of constraints, much less I would say than like um, academia, but still you have some constraint. But this is like a self-funded business that I'm doing. I'm literally just helping out with whatever I can think of. I can just make it. So for me, it's just like the normal evolution. And the funny thing is that this is also like R&D lab. So we have like 3 papers in the work right now at various stages. And the idea is that like to have my own kind of R&D lab where I get to publish and collaborate with folks in like academia or different like a private lab, and then just like to do research, but also to help people in a more of a entrepreneurship type of way. So that's kind of the arc that is going on here.
Why did you have that, or why did you choose to also go towards that research part also while doing Datadom? Was just
Yeah.
because that little gut feeling of I want to also do research, but at the same time see the impact. So it's a mixture of both. Was this something that came along the way? Was always a plan?
It was kind of always the plan a bit, right? To have my own like little lab. Like we are with my other company, Axia, we also like published a few paper. Nothing like too intense, but like the thing with like you can see it in 2 ways, right? One thing is that I really like the sharing of knowledge to other people, right? And then like because this is just like it's just fantastic. You have a problem you're working on, and then you look around, and then there's other guy that did the same thing 3 years ago, some shape or form, and then you cobble stuff together, and then that's how you can kind of solve the problem. So like if I'm using this network to do my job, right, and to help other people, like for me it just makes logical sense to kind of go and do it also myself and feed that network. That's kind of my philosophy here. So that's on the how's it, benevolent side. On just the pragmatic ruthless side, if you publish a paper, it's a great case study for your R&D lab that you actually are very competent, right? That's one thing. Second, it's very easy to then attract researchers that are kind of burned out by academia, still want to publish for whatever philosophical reason they have, but still get paid something, right? So that's the strategically, it's like a very good mix of everything, but still you get to kind of feed a bit the network that you're taking from in order to do your work.
Okay,
Super
then.
interesting, Yacine. Can we also know what the papers are about? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, well, there's a few. I can't say the name of the folks just yet. Like, still have to go through their legal stuff. There's one about embedding based retrieval that we're working on. Kind of like a Airbnb slash LinkedIn recommendation, but using like the embedding to do that sort of stuff. So there's one we're doing on this front. There's another one that is like a very complicated and like proprietary time series data that is very interesting. There's very few paper out there about that. So we have access to the data, and then we're trying to find ways of like being able to showcase like how we're doing the stuff to detect a bunch of things with a sensor going through like an industrial time series type of stuff. And there's another one with like recommender system, a bit more classical type of stuff. Been trying to push a bit the boundary here. That's also in the manufacturing sector. So like that's kind of the paper is very practical in nature. It's not like the academic benchmark type stuff, right? It's really like we have private data and we're trying to kind of do something that works because that's kind of why we're getting paid to do this stuff. But if we like do a novel thing in there, I think it's also worth it to share it with the community while still protecting the IP of the business. That's kind of the fine line that you have to walk through when you're doing stuff like that.
When you're going to doing something for your clients, walk us through like how do you approach the challenges? So you go who's your ICP? How do you talk with them? And what's the process, like your thought process on solving the problems and where you can add value and you can really implement these AI workflows or make them an AI enabled company?
Yeah. So like my philosophy, right, in business that I've realized that just works through trying for 7 fucking years and not like getting anywhere for 4 years was that you have to really have a lens of helping out, right? You're trying to help people. If you're not doing this, like, I am sorry, but like it's very, very unlikely that your thing is gonna work. Maybe you're like in a very abstract industry and then you're like, but even then I'm like, it's like if you have a clear cut, yeah, I'm helping these guys and that's how like it's how it's going, then you're in a good framing, right? And there's multiple gradation on your help, right? Like, so for example, the content that I'm putting out there, the YouTube video and stuff, it is helping people from all different kind of business because they are literally like messaging me and letting me know, right? So I know that I'm helping them out on this stuff. I'm helping also like students. I'm helping like different gradation of these that then go into the industry and then like they're able to do stuff, right? So that's one thing, right? So and like that's the very first thing. So this type of help that you're providing for free, literally without looking for anything, what it end up doing is that it kind of create this layer of trust that if you did any B2B sales, you know that like you need that thing, right? If you don't have trust, there's absolutely no way you're gonna sell whatever stuff you're selling, especially a SaaS, right? Consulting, it's a bit easier, but like you still need to get this layer of trust. So that's kind of one thing. And then after that, if you scale your help, once you're talking to the people and then they want like to have more focused and customized help, there's two ways you can go about it, which is the first is like during your sales process. Well, first, like if like they're too small or something like that and there's nothing to be done and there's nothing for you to do, but then you can still educate them. My take on this is that it's just fair game to kind of like just let them know, right? And then like guiding them 30 minutes and then they go on their way. So there's many ways. The reason for this, first, because it feels super good to just help somebody out. Second is that like there is a network effect that can like kick in at some point and stuff like that from a marketing perspective. And then if it fits, right, like they're big enough so that like it is going to be useful for them, that you're going to help them out. And they don't have the resources internally to kind of do it or like the bandwidth or the knowledge. Then like this is where like you go from like helping everything for free to kind of exchanging a bit your time or your expertise for the help in exchange. And then there's
that different... would be more consulting, the
exactly
consulting
right.
bit.
And then like the way to do it here is that like it's much better to kind of provide strategic consulting at first, because then you help them also understand what's going to happen next and like what could happen also just with their resources and stuff. And even then,
how's your sales pipeline developed? So you're focused more on the SaaS, you're focused more on the consulting side. How do you split your time and make the process come true?
Right now, I'm focusing on like whatever comes my way, right? So that's kind of how I've looked at it.
Have the same pitch, like you appear like a Morpheus kind of figure, like choose your pill. This is the AI pill.
Yeah, but I mean, right? Like it's more about like helping folks out, and like at some point, data is just data. Like it doesn't matter too much, right? Like I've done so many things that like it doesn't matter. Like yes, you get the context and you kind of try to understand and stuff, but then at some point, it's like there's not that much difference between the thing. Yes, for sure, like their different modality will play a role in what like your solution will look like. But most of the time, it's nothing complicated that you're gonna do to help them out, right? It's very rare that we have like a very like a pointy type of research stuff. It does happen, but then like I just go ahead and like be able to structure a bit and then find like an expert to kind of lead the project and stuff like that. But like SaaS versus like the other type of business, SaaS is good, but like the thing with SaaS is they usually have people internally doing literally just tech, right? So it's more of a and with their case, it's like we're either help them strategically and then they off and then they go, or I help them strategically and then take like the very hard stuff, right? So that's kind of how it rolls. For like the manufacturing and like the other type of industry, the thing with them is that they most likely don't have anybody that is available inside to do the stuff. So then it's more like involved and we do everything for them. So that's kind of how it goes with the different type of businesses. Yeah.
For example, when people reach out to you guys that they have some issue or something that they want to implement, usually when they come up to you, they already have like some type of prototype. Usually, because you mentioned, for example, manufacturing, usually they don't have the human capability or the human resources to do it. But for example, for the other type of industries, usually when they reach out is they have a clear plan of what they're doing, or you also walk through with them on what they can actually build, what they can actually improve for their business.
Yeah, that's a good question. So like if they're technical, right? Or like their company is supposed to be technical, sometimes they bring a prototype and stuff like that, or they have a clear-cut idea. It's a trap though. Like, so yeah, you have to be careful here because like, I mean, like, if they're too small and they don't have users, my like philosophy and thought is that like they should just go and get the users, right? Or learn how to build the stuff and just build it. Because at the start, the product is not the issue at all. It's like, does the user even care about your thing? Because if you go and then
distribution, right? You have to find your distribution, right?
yeah, you just have to find like how you're gonna help out folks. That's kind of it, right? Like if like the software absolutely doesn't matter, because like if you think about it, the software is just a way to scale your help, right? That's kind of all there is, right? So you're focusing on the software. I have this idea for a software, and then I'm gonna like send it to these people, and they're gonna love it. Okay, cool, man. Like, are they paying for this right now? Like, how are you helping them in the task that the software will help at the moment, right? And if
It's
you
like
are not,
is it a pain worth solving, right?
yeah, man, is it the pain worth hiring you to do that, right? And if it's not, because they don't trust you, your sales cycle will be like super long because they literally don't trust you.
Or
Fix
it
that
doesn't
first,
hurt
right?
enough, right? It doesn't hurt
Yeah,
enough.
and if it
for
doesn't
the
hurt
business.
enough, like why would they buy software to do that stuff, right? Like there's literally no point to go in this way.
So how's your angle? Like you look at the pain, like how do you intercept if like it's a real pain and how acute is it? Like how do you look at it?
You just talk to a lot of people, like a
Talk to a lot of
lot,
people,
and
okay.
lot, and try to help a lot of people, right?
How's your
That's
interviewing process regarding that?
yeah. Don't interview, just chat with folks.
Okay,
Like
okay.
that's kind of how it goes. Like if there's people coming your way and then like they are interested about what you're about, right? In my case, I'm about like AI, deep learning and stuff. Like that's kind of a main thing, right? They're gonna want to chat, and then like you just chat with folks, right? Like that's kind of that. Like, of course, if you chat with like people that have no money and no nothing, right? I mean, like you can learn a lot of stuff, but like you're not gonna be able to help them in a sustainable way with the business because you need to feed the business in order to help more people. That's kind of how it grows and how it sustains itself. But like if it's like people from the industry of whatever industry, right? And you don't know like what you're gonna do and stuff, just talk to them, right? Like build a muscle to just chat with folks and see if you can help. That's literally it, right? Like that's literally all there is, right? You just talk to them and you ask them about what they're working on right now, right? And then they're gonna tell you, and then you're gonna they're gonna ask you what you're doing, and then you're gonna tell them, and then you're gonna try to be as curious as possible about their stuff. And at some point, like the problems are just bubbling up, right? And if it's you have to dig to find the problem, yeah, right? Like the people will be very, very happy to tell you all about their problem, especially if they can think that there may be a way for you to help, right? And then you try to help. Sometimes like you're gonna like not understand this field very much or stuff, but if you like keep being curious about what like other people are going through, you're gonna find pain everywhere. Like there's like people need help, and literally like
It's a world of pain out there.
there's a lot of help that is need to be provided.
And what's a very successful use case that you normally you're proud of sharing? Like something that you entered, you saw the pain, and you completely made your customer delighted.
Yeah. Well, so like usually like there's a few projects that we've done that was super cool. There's one with Airbus that we've done when I was at my other company, and this one was really great. And like this was not terribly complicated from a technical perspective, and like you could almost say it's like kind of boring, right? But it's basically was like a big normalization of different databases, right? And then being able to structure a massive amount of communication with like real suppliers. That's kind of the broad stroke of it, right? And to do this properly, there's the technological aspect of it that you need to set up properly to handle this data. But also then there's the different AI points that you can put in order to make the work much easier for whoever has to be in this system that you built out. So that was really cool. Honestly, like I think somebody got promoted out of this. And then like they were just happy about the result, which is always cool. Yeah.
You talked a bit about you're also doing AI, ML. Nowadays, I see a big separation of people that call themselves AI engineers or ML engineers. For example, we talked a bit through deep learning. I was also hoping to get your view on it. Because, for example, you also talked a bit at the beginning about the researchers. Yes, they want to go technical. They want to build a product. And at least my experience and from what I've seen, there's a big gap nowadays between the people that can actually work on those models and build those models and what the industry can use. That's also why there's this big separation between AI and ML. On the regard of, let's use, for example, if we're talking about LLMs, let's use some type of API. And there's a big gap in the amount of people that can actually run those models, let's go in the inference time or to actually train something. I was also hoping to get your perspective of it since you're also very technical on the both sides, I assume.
Yeah. So like, I mean, the distinction makes sense, right? Because like, if you think about it, like, how's it like? The AI engineering is just like you're gonna use this new form of computing, right? That's kind of it, right? Like, because there's many ways of like solving a problem, right? And what you're doing with like the LM is that like you put stuff in context, right? And then you get stuff out, and then you can just this form, right? You can do a lot with it. You have to understand the model, what their limitations and stuff. But like just this loop here, you can do a whole bunch. It's a bit stochastic and like you have to kind of like guardrail it and stuff. There's pros and cons. But like it is something that you can refine. And like the best people that are using these models are not necessarily the researchers that build them. Right? Just like the best people to build products, I don't know, man, in JavaScript, right? Are not the JavaScript people that build the language. It's like everybody that build on top of it, right? So that's kind of a very important distinction to keep in mind. And most of the time, you actually don't need to build a model, right? Like, actually, I try to avoid it as much as possible. If you can solve the problem in any other way than like having to like literally build a model from scratch, you should do it. If you can solve the problem without having even to do like a AI engineering LM flow, you should do that 100%, right? And then because this simplify the problem a lot. And at some point, there's maybe something that is left and there's no way other than like, I don't know, like fine tuning a BERT model in order to do our shit, right? If that's the case, you have a very, very constrained problem and then you can do it properly. The worst is like when you're trying to do like too much and then like very open-ended and it's very customizable what's in the middle. It's going to become a swamp straight up. So yeah. So this is great because there was a lot of problem before that will require heavy work on the ML side in order to get it done. But now with LM, it's almost a solved problem. Anything that is natural language related, right? Understanding, sentiment analysis, judging, this is solved. So there's a big chunk that you cut off, and then you're done with it, right? And then if there's something else that is a bit more involved, then you can reach out to these ML tool. But you should think about them a bit more into what it allows you to think from a problem solving perspective, right? If you don't know how to code and you try to help business with tech, you now have to reach out for off the shelf stuff, right? And plug them together, right? And you have to understand roughly speaking how they work, but it's input output. It's not that complicated. If you know how to code, then you can build custom stuff. If you know how to do data science, you can then understand data and how to manipulate it and visualize it to solve business problem, right? If you know how to use AI LM tools, you have another thing in your arsenal, which is a more intelligent type of automation, right? You have that now. And then if you know how to build model, then you know how to go from the data, right, to an output and find the best model to kind of get that in a pretty consistent manner that you're able to benchmark. It's just a way to solve problem, right? So that's kind of how you should think about it whenever you reach out for something. So if you should learn AI engineering or ML engineering, ML research stuff. My thought here is just take the easiest one first, make sure that you understand how to use it a bit, right? Then you have the skill set, and then go and get the other ones if need be. But it's just a tool in your arsenal.
You think there's this layering, right? You were explaining the layering, kind of how to solve problems.
Yeah, definitely. It's a bunch of layering of of different. It is layering, but also just it's different sphere of problem solving. It literally have different a shape, right?
Complexities as well, right?
Complexity. I mean, coding in this assembly, how complex it is, right? I mean, sometimes you don't need to fucking go there, right? Sometimes the problem that you need to go there is just it's just something that you have to do, right? So my philosophy,
right?
Yeah, but my philosophy here is that it's just layer of abstraction. Some people are more attuned to a certain layer. Others really want to see all the details and they feel safe there. Others are able to kind of just wing it with a lot of uncertainty around the pile. But
it's on a higher level, would you say?
Yeah, exactly. But it's more about matching the tool to the problem shape, right? Do you know how to use a drill, or do you know how to use a hammer? Do you know how to use a saw, right? If you have these and you know about these things that exist, right? When you go and see a problem, you're gonna be able to go and pick up the right stuff, because literally some problem have more of a data visualization shape, and that's it.
How do you choose the tool?
Well, you have to go and then help a lot of people.
Okay.
Right. That's kind of how it is. There's no work.
All of the problems that you stated, do all of them interest you? So from the simple vibe coded app to the more specific language model?
That's a very, very interesting question. The problem does the technicality of the problem doesn't matter to me. It literally has no relevance. So if I could go and make a very complicated setup that use the latest stuff, but it doesn't matter for somebody, right? The person next to it yeah, do it, it's gonna be fun, and then they don't care. I will feel no joy in doing this stuff at all, right? Because intrinsically what I like is to help people. That's kind of it. It's the end of the stuff. So if I can help people by teaching them, it's already fucking great, right? And I do that every week, right? And if I can help people by helping them with their vibe coded setup, they literally have a contract like this, which is just reviewing their stuff and making sure that non-technical people are doing it properly and there's no security gap. Fantastic, right? If I can help people by making an ML model, or coding something, or making an app, or literally creating dashboard and stuff, it's awesome. This is great. This is why I always start with why is it useful? Why are we even doing this, right? And I can understand. Sometimes it's like you want to do AI because you have a fundraising coming up, and if you don't get it, the valuation will not be good, and then you're gonna have to fire a bunch of people because you're not gonna be able to raise. I
Yeah,
get
there's
that
now a
problem.
big trend of people
Yeah,
just
but you
want
have
to put agentic AI and everything,
but you have
and they
this
want to use.
setup around
Yeah,
it, right? So like, but you have to understand that this is a reality for this business, right? And this kind of organism that is trying to grow, like, and generate revenue and have people working inside, like it has an environment that it's living in. And then you deal with this and you try to find the best thing you could do, right? For the customer, the people that are working in this stuff, to make everything fit together, right? So that's kind of what I like, more than anything else. And then you learn a lot about like what's useful and what's not, and like what you need to do. And sometimes you have to reach for the latest thing, otherwise this thing doesn't work. And you know why you're reaching for this, right? So that's kind of my philosophy on that.
one trend that I've seen happening before is people using the analogy of the tool that you were giving us. People just pick up the bazooka to deal with every single problem. And I imagine that a lot of people that reach out to you would also say, I have this problem, but I want to solve it with this because I want agentic AI or whatever. There's a big trend
I
going
want to
on
be
online
AI
about
enabled.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. How do you come up with this problem? Because as you mentioned, and I completely agree with you, is let's not use the hammer to everything or the bazooka to everything. Some things should not even have AI. Some things
Yeah,
can be rule-based, for example, or just a very simple workflow. So how do
yeah,
you come up and because people come with an expectation of having all of these tools being used, and sometimes the reality is it's not the best thing for them. But I
yeah,
imagine it's very hard to explain this to them without
yeah.
breaking their full expectations.
And like, and you have to understand also the politic involved sometime, right? Because you can't just come there and be like the smart ass and say like, yeah, you don't need this, like maybe the guy need this promotion, shit like that. You don't know, right? So you have to deal with this properly, right? So but what I like to do in all cases is like, I look at the problem. Like sometimes, like, yeah, if you're trying to pick off flowers and you're using a bazooka, right? It will just not work. You're gonna like puck up the whole thing, right? So in this case, for sure, we're not gonna use a bazooka, right? But if you're trying to, I don't know, hit a target and then you have a bazooka, or there's like you can go with a knife and then you did the target and stuff, right? Um, if they want to use the bazooka, let's use the bazooka. Right? It literally doesn't matter. But then you're going to teach them like why you could use these other things that will save them that much, and it will be very useful, right? And
How
then
do you do that? How do you pass that problem-solving perspective of you have this whole arsenal, and to solve the problem that you want to solve,
yeah,
you don't need to use what you're saying you want to
exactly.
use.
You have to put yourself in their shoes, right? It's going to be very rare that you're going to have a very technical person like saying you like the dumbest stuff like this. They will not feel right to say, let's use LLM versus like, yeah, this is like 20 lines of code, right? They will not feel good at this because they know about that. And they know that you know about that, right? So like, we're all going to be full here. No, it's not going to work. They're going to be like able to go forth and say like, yeah, just use
You
that.
never
And
dealt
be
with
done.
a non-technical SMB owner, then?
Yes,
With
I
it?
did a
Oh,
lot of the
okay.
time, and that's the issue. Like, if you have a technical person, you will never be in this situation. If you have a non-technical person, you will often be in this situation. So the delta is like they don't understand the solution space. So
How do
your
you walk
job
them
is not.
How do you,
Like,
you walk them through it?
yeah, well,
Like, do you
that's the thing.
handhold them? Do you have
You
to
have to
handhold
teach
them to
them
say,
about
yeah,
that stuff, right?
okay.
So like what you're trying to do is not like trying to go into the solution and what like you're trying to understand like, okay, what's the problem you're trying to, why you want to use an LLM? Oh, I want to do this. Oh, okay, you want to do this. Hey, remind me of like what I did with like whatever, or like this problem and stuff. Like, let me do some research. Like, yeah, we could use an LLM for this, but I think it's going to be like overkill, right? But like, let me check it out. I can pinpoint a few solutions and be like, yeah, let's do this. And then you go and you do that. And you outline like, look, we could use an LLM here. Here's how it goes. We could literally do it right now if you want. It doesn't matter, right? But like the issue is like, here's the cons. Like, it's going to cost you a lot. It's going to be very flexible because then you can use this and that. So this is why we should like use this. But you can train a small decision tree here, and then it's going to be much faster, much cheaper. Less flexible because if you have more stuff here, you're going to have to retrain it. So that's the Or we can use literally to just make a decision, like if statement here, like 20 lines of code. We should be done with this. This would actually take us like an afternoon and stuff like that. But like, yeah, you're going to have to maintain this piece of code afterward. And then they're going to be like, thank you very much for having educated me about that stuff, right? So that's kind of how you bring them there. You have to understand what they don't know, right? Like, how to say it? Like, like they are lacking a skill, right? And then you have skill.
Also, as a sales point of view, you are doing a hand holding, you're going full consulting, right? You're spending a lot of time with this person.
I fly over there.
Okay.
I fucking fly over there and I just stay there for like 4 days and I meet everybody. So that's
what is an example of like a non-technical founder that, like a fun story that you've seen through like the whole process and really grasped like what was their end goal, and you walk them through how to get them enabled to achieve that end goal, and how can they at least have a perception of how technical they had to go.
Yeah. So usually like it depends what you mean by non-technical, right? Especially in the manufacturing sector, they're all going to be pretty much technical, right? In the sense that like they know what they're building. Like,
okay.
It depends.
Non-technical in terms of like being AI built or knowing how to make a full-fledged AI workflow.
Yeah, well, in this case, like it's just a skill that they're missing, and then you're educating them on that, right? But like they're very technical on their.
They can code. They can code.
They could code, yes, but also like if they can do CAD designing, if they can do mechanical engineering, if they can fucking weld, right? For me, that's all technical skills. Like it's not like very rare that I go into a space that is successful and the guy know nothing about the space, right?
It would be very weird that they are still successful without technical people. Yeah.
There's often like a startup that are starting out, and like they're like that. Like the guys don't know, right? And they're trying to help folks that they don't know. So in this case, this is what I meant. Like there's no point in helping them be AI, whatever. They just have to go and do it themselves, right? They're gonna learn the skill, which is the most important bit, and then they're gonna learn how to help these folks. So that's gonna for this population. For the rest, like they will be technical in some way, right? In the way that like is helping their business, because that's kind of how they got there, right? And then like you're just trying to bridge the gap between like this technical skills, which is like making AI workflows or like making machine learning model, and like their current skill of like whatever they are doing. Let's say they're making planes and stuff like that, and then you bridge that together. They have the context, you have this skill, and then you're trying to like work together to solve this problem, right? It's kind of how you should look at.
Normally when they reach out to you, it's more regarding how to get more efficient. What is the normal pain that they come to for you to solve?
It depends. It's very diffuse sometimes. Sometimes it's like very pointy also. Like they have this pain, right? Because they have this problem. Let's say like it's a banker and stuff like that, and then they want to like reduce the time like some of their people are spending with like the different client, and just like standardize how everybody is doing it, because like not all of them have the same context in their head. Very custom problem, and it makes sense for them, right? If the company is successful and it's actually like working and not like bleeding cash and stuff, they will have real problem, because they have 100 problems, right? 99% don't fucking matter, and then the 1% matters, and they're always on the top of their mind, right? And this is the one that they're working on. So like these ones will be very easy to bubble up, and like it could be for many reasons, but at the end of the day, it's like it matters for the business. So that's kind of thing. So for example, a small business owner, maybe one problem is like I want to sell more of this stuff, right? And I know my bottleneck is this, right? Like they're doing this, and I can literally show you in the spreadsheet. I'm missing out on that money because they're doing it manually here. There must be a way to speed that up. Otherwise, I can't grow. I can't make more money, right? So like you will see it if you are talking to the business, to the guy about the business, right? You're going to be able to see that directly, and then you latch onto that because that's the context that you need to solve in your whatever solution that you're implementing.
I assume a lot of times they also come up with you with the pain, and actually the solution is not anything tech related. Sometimes
Yeah,
it's a human problem. How do you
yeah,
approach that situation? Because people, like I mentioned before, usually they have this type of expectation when they
yeah,
reach
yeah,
out
yeah.
to you.
So like, and sometimes it's like they hired the wrong guy, and the guy is just stressed and then trying his best, and it doesn't work, right? Sometimes like they're trying to solve the wrong problem because they didn't think it through, right? Sometimes like it's like a non-issue really, right? They're making it bigger than it is. Um, Sometimes maybe like they fucked up by buying something they didn't need, and it's like a big mess in the middle. So you just have to kind of understand like from their perspective, because for them it's not like a fake problem; it's like actual real problem, right?
It's one of
And
the, from what you're saying, one of the hardest part of the job is actually to grasp their business and their pain and what they
yeah,
actually need to get going.
yeah, exactly. And like the thing is that, um, especially if you're going to a bigger organization, you're gonna hit the politic all the time, right? Um, and like to be very honest, it's very rare that I've seen like psychopath level politic. It's usually politic that kind of makes sense in some way that there's there because there are many like conflicting element, and there's maybe incentive that are from the business that is pushing this from corporate, but then like this create this problem and then this problem, and it's a very messy thing. But then you just have to be able to empathically understand each of the player, right? And then understand the problem and find a way to kind of like shift the situation so that the problem gets solved, right? But you're not trying to solve the business, right? That's their job, right? You're trying to help them move, right? And since you're outside from the business, even if you're selling software, since you're outside from the business, you can do moves that they can't do internally. So that's kind of how you should think about it. And you should just like, that's what I mean. Like the tech doesn't matter, right? Literally the research stuff doesn't, like, it's about helping these folks. And like, it's not I'm trying to help the SMBs that are over 50 people, like just like it's these guys that are there, right? They have names and they have different issues, and then there's a have asterisk, right? That's what you should be focusing on. At some point, you're gonna be able to categorize and like find people that it's much more worth it for you, right? To scale your help,
Have
to
like a
talk to.
specific ICP that you just focus on,
Yeah,
right?
but like it's a byproduct of like just literally trying to help folks, because then you're gonna see some of them like, hey, they're gonna pay me like, I don't know, like 20 times what I'm doing with all of these other ones, and it's much easier, right? Like then if you zoom out from what you're doing and you think about your company as like this vessel to help people out, it makes sense, right? To go more after them because you're gonna be able to help more people for less work, so you can help even more people and keep this rolling and growing, right? Like that's the lens that you should be using in this case.
About this duality that you have, which is running your company and also having the YouTube channel,
Yeah,
do you feel like this is like a symbiotic relation? Like you take things from your consulting or your company's work that you put into the YouTube channel and the dissections that you do and the talks that you have with the authors and researchers and things that you actually learn from research that also translate into your consulting company.
yeah, yes. Sometimes like I have a problem that my guys are working on, and then I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna bring like a researcher on this stuff, and I'm just gonna ask him straight up the question, and I just ask him, and then we have the answer, right? So that's
How
one
do they
thing, and then
usually go by that? Do you just reach
I
out to
literally
them?
just I literally reach out to a whole bunch of researchers that I like their stuff, and I just ask them if they want to come and chat. And most of them are very open to do this, right? Because like if you're like true researcher, you don't just like to do stuff alone. Otherwise, you will never publish. I never go to conferences. You like to put your stuff out there because you know that's going to help more people. So they have this bias to just say yes, um, which is great because then I can ask them a question, and then if I find their stuff interesting, like that's kind of why I'm bringing them in. Uh, so that's one thing, and then the other thing is that um, from a business perspective for new clients and stuff, you just want to like showcase that you know your stuff, right? And that you're worthy of their trust. That's kind of it, right? Like if they don't trust you and you're not a trustworthy person, why would they risk going with you? Even if theoretically could work, right? But if like you're a trustworthy person, you're capable, and then like you're willing to help them with their problem, like business-wise, it makes sense for them to pick you, right? So that's kind of also like a byproduct. I didn't engineer it this way, but like that's a byproduct of the YouTube channel, because like people see what I'm doing, and then see the different videos. They're like, yeah, this is super interesting, right? And then they look at my stuff and they're like, oh, I can even ask him a bunch of questions. And then they do. And then sometimes they realize that I have this business, or they realize I have this business, and then look at my YouTube channel. And then it's like a check mark on this stuff.
They get more context of who's
they get more context about like,
And it's also validation
what
of
I'm
your-
up to. Yeah.
Yeah.
And help also with like all the IT discussion, because then the IT folks, sometimes the IT will be brought into a deal that is already ongoing, right? And it's very annoying for them to like just let have this information when the deal is almost certain to close, right? So they have this inner reaction of pushing back, because they're like, yeah, this guy sucks actually. Like this whole product sucks, right? So the way to counter this is just to really be out there online and be very visible about your expertise. So then when you come to the IT section of the deal, they're going to look at your stuff and like, yeah, this guy actually is smart, right? He knows about this. I'm actually going to ask him a bunch of questions, but like, they're not at the defensive level anymore, right? They're more like, yeah, let's chat with the dude. It might be a good addition, and they may help us with like this other pile of problem that we have. So that's kind of
Have
how
you ever had
it worked.
a company or a business that you worked with that actually wanted to and tried to hire you?
Yeah, it happens a lot. Yeah, it does. It does still happen. And then like when this happens, I try to figure out why they want to hire me, right? And I just recommend some folks that are smarter than me and stuff, and then just like funnel through them to the business. Yeah, it does happen.
Interesting. About the YouTube channel, like we were talking at the beginning, you started by dissection, talking a bit about research, explaining papers to people, and now we're seeing more of the let's bring people on to also talk about their research, but also talk about what they're doing in their papers and so on. When did this transition happen, and was it something natural? Was something like someone reach out to you and say, let's chat, but also love to be on the YouTube episode with you? How did this come up?
So like how it started is that like I think it was with evolutionary strategy paper with Yulu. Again, it was a great paper, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna dissect this paper and do that, right? And then I just messaged the guy and said like, by the way, do you want to come in and like I have a bunch of questions, because there was stuff that I didn't understand. I could try to figure it out and like for a week and a half, and then like explain it myself, but I might be wrong, right? I could just bring the guy. So I just brought the guy, right? It was the easiest thing. And then what I was doing at some point is I spent like a lot of the time getting it super right for the explanation of the paper, and then I brought the folks to for the back and forth and the question. And every time they came online, they were like, "Hey, it was great. It was a great you understood really well the paper." And I was like, "Yeah." And then in my head, I was like, "Hey, it took me 2 weeks because I was like drilling this paper and trying to understand the intuition that they were going through." Last one that I did like this was Maxwell paper. It's like an algorithm. Then I realized like, hey, these guys could also just explain the paper. Like, I don't have to do it for them. And then like they fucking know what matters and what not, right? And I could just ask questions about the part that like are maybe a bit obscure or but that makes less sense. And these folks have been explaining the paper for longer than me, understanding it, and they have so much more connection they can make with the rest of the field. So then I shifted gear, and what I do now is like I read a good paper, and then I go ahead and I literally like bring them in to present, but also then to answer all my questions. It's easier for me then to kind of craft really good question because I can just focus on that. Just 2 seconds. I'm gonna like put a little ventilator in my stuff because it's heating up. I have a camera, but like sometimes it overheat because it's hot in this in this room. Okay, can continue. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, got a bit stopped here. You were saying that you bring them over, and you also like to go into those more obscure or not so easier to follow parts, and that probably also helps out your channel because probably the people who's watching are also in that position. So you making the questions also gives us a better sense of what the paper is about, the parts that were harder to understand. And I think having the authors there to answer your questions and to explain the reasoning behind it, it's a very interesting idea. It's a super smart idea, to be honest.
But the thing also that you have to understand with research paper is that like, or just research in general, is that not all of it is known, even in the paper. That's super important. Like some of it is just like, they had to do this. They had no time. Or like the timer ran off for the GPU in like their HPC, right? So they had to do it this way. There was no other way. Or other time is like, we tried any other way, didn't work, but this wouldn't work, right? And that's why we stated in the paper. This stuff I love, right? Like explaining a topic that you could understand by following the paper, a bit less interesting for me. But like trying to figure out what is at the edge and it's still kind of obscure is great. So like there's good back and forth then in the interview, because we're just like trying to figure it out, right? And try to figure out what it means and stuff. And like beforehand, what I can focus on is just like reading in depth the paper, but also like the rest of the literature, so that I have like as much context as possible in my head. So then I can like get to these points and try to kind of find connections. I love that stuff. I really love it.
What advice would you give to someone who's trying to pursue research or trying to build in this landscape of AI? I know that you've talked about this in some of your videos, but for the people out here.
A good question, because I'm actually my next video is like, I brought a researcher that was at Google, at Apple, NVIDIA, and I'm asking her this question, literally, to get her input. She's really smart. It depends. Like, if you want to do research, I would just stop and like try to figure out why they're trying to do research, right? Like that's kind of more important than anything else, because like there's many reasons for it, and sometimes like the reason is not pragmatic. It's just like it's like an inner calling that like this is the stuff that they love, right? And if this is the case, just go ahead, right? I can help you get situated about like what you should do next. Let's say like join a lab, right? But that's kind of it. After that, it's on you. You have to follow that thing. It's like myself with learning, right? Like if somebody asks me like, why are you like studying C slug? I'm like, it's fucking great. It's awesome. I love it, right? Or why you're studying like consciousness and stuff. I could have done like, hey, I'm gonna help the folks and stuff in 7 years and stuff like that. Or I just like, yeah, it's super interesting to be able to understand what's going on here. So like if this is that case and you have this kind of calling that you have inside, you should just follow it, right? And if like I'll give pointers about like what's the next step and stuff. For research, is literally just join lab, right? Like just if you don't have that much expertise, try to volunteer into one and get your foot in the door, and then you're getting started and you're doing your stuff, right? So that's one thing. But if you're trying to like more pragmatically like go in and build skills and stuff like that in order to have a career, my advice would be like, what career? What's what you're trying to do, right? And try to pinpoint the exact role you're trying to go for, right? And then you look and reverse engineer what is needed in that role for you to be that, and then you do that. Like that's kind of how you should go about it. But if you already have like a job, it's not about that. It's more about skill building. It's more like what you want to build and what you want to do, right? And then usually like people are kind of taking baby steps, right? And they're like, I want to do this, so I'm gonna start and do this, and then when I'm done, I'm gonna do this. And like if this is the case, I would say like, well, do that. So it's all right.
Do the
Do it
ultimate
17
goal.
times. Yeah, just do it 17 times. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. The first one sucked. I will tell you that. Like the first 7 will suck, right? The 8th one will start to be good, right? And then 9 will be like a bit better, and then 10 will be a bit better. And same thing, like, oh, I want to start a business. So I'll be like, well, that's really cool. So do you have financial stability right now? And if it's not, it's like just get the money, like save it 6-12 months, make sure you have that. After that, like just fucking go and do it. Go help people out, right? And just ask them for money in exchange. So it's kind of pretty simple, and most of the time it's just like them knowing themselves and like being able to state their goal properly. That's kind of most of the thing. Like most of the time, people chat with me about that sort of stuff. It end up being something like this about me being a sounding board for like stating their goal properly.
Going straight forward. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and what you were saying, like starting the business and researching, like entrepreneurship and research,
same
like
thing.
is the same thing. Okay, it's like, how would you do that process of, okay, I'm excited about this idea, and I want to establish my path towards materialization of this idea,
Yeah,
right? And
it's the same process. Like
it's the
yeah,
same process, yeah.
the process of doing research is this is
Hmm.
we want to do this
We
like
have
and
the
make this
ultimate
possible.
goal. We have the
Yeah,
ultimate goal, right?
there's the research direction and stuff, and like we want to be able to do this, right? And there's maybe like intermediary goal that like people have been going for and stuff, and there's maybe different path that people are taking, but that's kind of roughly it, right? But then like what you do is like you try to figure out what other people are doing, right? Trying to figure out where the edge is at the moment, and then you try to think very hard about like other ways of doing the stuff. And usually the one way to do it that is very kind of easy is just to be very translational in the sense that like you're looking at all the other field, all the other ideas, try to understand their form, and then you try one direction and then you go and test it, right? And then you like look back at the data and then you iterate like this. And it's like the overall environment when you're in it is just like a lot of uncertainty. So for a lot of people, like they will just burn out because 90% of your experiment won't work, right? So you're like, yeah, this is a negative result. And then when you have a good result, you're like, I most likely messed up something, overfitted this, or like my bacteria thing is like completely contaminated for sure again. But like it's a lot of this rejection and like nothing is working. Even when things are working, if you want to try to get published and like put a stand and say like this is worthy, you have to go get external validation, and then they're gonna like fight back and say like, no, it's garbage. You didn't do this, and that, and then again rejection, and you have to go about it and then fix it up. When you're doing entrepreneurship and trying to solve real people problem, it's the same stuff, exactly same stuff, right? Like they are a problem right now, right? And the reason they have a problem is there's many reasons for this, right? But like something for some reason they are not able to solve it, and then you're there. You can take a look at what everybody else is doing, and sometimes it's just like applying this for this guy, and then you go and you do it, right? And there's ways of approaching the stuff in order to make you available to be able to help them, right? So, but you have to understand like the environment, and like sometimes you're gonna get like wrong signal. Like you tried to help this guy, but like it didn't work out for this reason. Or maybe it's like his fault, maybe it's my fault, maybe it's my team fault. Like you go in like this, or maybe like the product sucks, or maybe the product is not the right thing, right? So you iterate like that, and after that you try to figure out ways to do it again for a bigger kind of milestone, right? And then but it's the same process of like baiting on the unknown and trying to find a path in there. And there's a methodical way you do it, like because research like figured it out, and entrepreneur also figured it out, but it's exactly the same kind of steps. So usually like a very, very good researcher will make a very, very good entrepreneur.
Super interesting. Yacine, random question. Where are you watching right now in the AI field or landscape that you feel like most people are not really paying attention to?
But the one thing I'm watching right now that like is it's very boring, right? It's mainly like eval building, like I know it's like kind of boring benchmarking and stuff. But like, it's one of the biggest alpha there is, especially in the industry, right? Because like you go anywhere, and like even like in projects that are running right now, and they have absolutely no eval, so they don't know if like thing is working out or not. And like the layer of LLM that we've put into the whole mix makes it even more strange, and it makes all the project very inefficient. But if you're able to kind of create a good eval, even like I'm looking a lot with like synthetic way of creating evals, so that you're kind of bootstrapping your stuff really fast, and then you have like this kind of benchmark that you can run your agent or your machine learning model or whatever the heck you want to run, right? But then you have like a structured way of saying like we're going into the right direction or not. So this these days I'm very into this, and like nobody want to hear that, right? Like it's not about the flashy model or stuff. This is really just like creating a good data set that you can benchmark your stuff upon. Like this is as old as like machine learning or whatever, right? But it's still a big problem.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I completely agree with you. And from being someone that was also working on the field, for me, that's like the number one thing you need to get right is how
yeah,
to eval. Because otherwise, like you were saying, you have no idea
yeah.
where you're
That's it,
going
man.
into.
And then you tell that to the client, they're like, we don't want to do
Yeah.
that. And then you try to do it yourself and stuff like that. So there's ways of like structuring the stuff so that like you are able to do it instead of the client doing it, because you're gonna have to pull on people with like good context in order to do that stuff. But like it's gonna take a while before they see like the return on that. So if you're able to kind of bootstrap yourself and then do it with your team, usually it's really great. And then they have that data set, and like they now they understand a bit better why you're doing that sort of stuff.
Great. Okay, well, before we wrap up, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on our channel, and follow us on Members Club. Links are below. And Yacine, do you have anything you'd like to share? Are you taking new consulting clients at Datadom? Any projects you're building publicly?
Yeah, man. We're still growing this stuff. So we're about 11 now. I'm hiring a bit. I'm looking for more client too. Try to hustle and make this grow.
All right, that's a great finishing
Perfect,
line.
Yasin.
Perfect. Hustle,
Thank you.
making it grow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.